What is up, Growth House Podcast? This is Adit Shah, and this is how I went from a handyman to $20 million in real estate in 2 years.
D, I appreciate you being on the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me, Jesse. Dude, it's good to see you again, man. I feel like it hasn't been too long since we linked up, so excited to be here.
Absolutely. And then tell the people, where are you coming in from?
So I'm currently in Medellin, Colombia, South America, yeah.
There we go. And we were supposed to link up, but I think you got sick, and then we ended up linking up here in Phoenix, Arizona. So yeah, it was great actually connecting, meeting you in person. I felt like we've been friends for multiple years just after like meeting like once, which is crazy.
Absolutely, man. It was great seeing you, and the feeling is mutual for sure.
What I want to know before we take a step back and how you got to where you are now, what does that current portfolio look like? What are you mainly, invested in projects that you're currently working on?
Yeah, sure. So my portfolio, and I joke about it, is the culmination of shiny object syndrome over the last 5 years. And currently it consists of hotels. So I co-own a syndication company that has around $17 million in hotels. Um, I also own I'm kind of making a pivot out of hotels, and I own a infill development company called Housebender, and I have about $3 to $4 million in $3 to $3.5 million in assets there. And lastly, I'm also invested in a software company. So my syndication company, we did a syndication for a software company I invested in. So that's the big view of my whole portfolio.
I love it. So before we get started and kind of going back just a little bit, when you talk about a syndication, what does that look like just for people who don't know?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So as you know, there's different ways to invest in real estate. One of them is syndication, and basically, what syndication does is it packages real estate ownership into basically a security. So it's no difference in buying when you buy a stock, you own a piece of the company, right? It's the same thing, except instead of a company, you own part of a real estate asset, right? So normally, like an experienced team, a sponsor who has experience putting together real estate deals will go raise all of the money to do a real estate project. They'll give 70 to 80% usually ownership to limited partners or investors, and then they'll keep 20 to 30% ownership for themselves. And that ownership is basically for them putting together the deal and running it. But for the investor, it's completely passive. It's just like owning a stock. So with that pays dividends usually. So that's kind of syndication in a nutshell.
And then what about in-field development?
Yeah, so infill development is real estate development. So it's new construction. But instead of like you're buying a piece of land and you're building all these houses or apartments, it's basically you're buying a property that already has some kind of asset on there, whether it's a duplex, a 3 unit, a commercial building, and you're making it more dense. So you're just adding more units, you're packing units into there. So that's infill development.
Got it. And you have so many great podcasts out there, which I'll link a couple of them that kind of share your backstory, especially about you being in the military. I want to take it once you graduated or, got out of the military. Would you start? Like, let's start the story right there.
Yeah, so I got out of the military, had no money, had no experience, had no skills. One thing that I did do was I used my VA loan to buy a condo in San Diego. That's where I was living and have lived for the last 10 years till I moved to Colombia. But I was house hacking. I didn't know I was house hacking, but I had a roommate who was paying most of the bills. I was like, wow, dude, this real estate thing is crazy. Like, you can really make money doing this. I bought this house zero down VA loan, and now it's paying me. Wow, I'm super interested. So I discovered Bigger Pockets, and I had like the big audacious desire to be a real estate developer, right? And not like a wholesaler, not a flipper, not none of those things. I was like, no, I want to be a real estate developer. I want to build Shaw Towers. So what I did was I got on Bigger Pockets, the website, LinkedIn, even Facebook groups, my local real estate investing Facebook groups, and I sent a ton of people, syndicators and developers, even flippers and wholesalers. Hey, my name's Adit Shah. I'm a handyman. Like, one thing that I could do, I had no education, no skills, but I could fix anything. I'm a handyman. I'll come fix your stuff for free. I just want to learn about real estate. No one responded. This was literally like 60, 70 people I hit up. Finally, one guy hits, this is like persistent calling, showing up at people's offices, getting no-showed, cold emailing, cold texting, all kinds of crazy stuff, dude. I didn't know what I was doing was setting me up, for all the things that I would do later on. But I was doing it without knowing it, right? But one guy was like, "Fine, come to the job site. Stop annoying me. To move these boxes." So I moved boxes on this job site. Started fixing his stuff for free as a handyman. That turned into a paid position, and then I became a property manager. I took management of his portfolio, and then I became a project manager and started managing all of his new construction projects as well. So from there, I started doing my own deals. But that was like kind of my intro to real estate, so to say.
So you basically try to align yourself with someone that was doing what you wanted to do, and you started working with for them. And I'm pretty sure you said for free, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did.
And then what happened after that? You did that for a year, and then what was like your intention and like end goal with doing that? Is it just learning? Is it partnering with him?
So there was no end goal in the beginning, right? In the beginning, it was just, dude, I want to get around real estate, like people who are actually doing it. And remember, this is someone who's zero, who's literally just like listening to the Bigger Pockets podcast, tearing up, like, I want to do that someday. We've all been there. Like that's where I
Absolutely.
was. But literally on day one, I jumped in to seeing what it actually looks like to do it. Like not conceptually hearing it in the podcast or watching it on YouTube. No, I'm actually doing this. Like, it's not mine, but I'm doing it, right? And the faster, I always tell people, the faster you get to doing, the faster you'll get to doing something that you own and that sets you
Mm,
free, right? So I aligned myself with him with the intention of just getting around it. That turned into me getting all of the trench level knowledge, right? What I call trench level knowledge is like a ground level expertise that allows you to go operate on your own and confidently do things like raise capital, pitch projects, put deals together. I wouldn't be able to do that, like, right? Because you got to imagine, for to get to where he was, it took him 10 years. It only took
hmm
me, like it's I'm not quite to where he was yet. He was huge. Like this guy was very wealthy and very established, but I'll probably do what I'll probably do what he did in half the time, just because I got his 10-year school of hard knocks on day one. So to answer your question, I didn't really have an end goal, like toward in the beginning. Towards the end, like I was trying to partner, I was trying to get more ownership. He was kind of moving out of San Diego into doing tract homes in Idaho. So we kind of just parted ways, and I started my own development company, right? But I guess in that point, my intention was to try to kind of do some partnership. We did do some lending back and forth. I did partner with him, but like not in not at scale, right? So.
hmm And then so you do that for a year, working for free, learning from them, and then what happens?
So while I was working for him, I used my VA loan again to purchase a 3-unit property that I was going to house hack with my buddy Donnie. It was during the whole COVID moratorium thing. California had the most strict eviction laws. We couldn't evict any tenants, so we couldn't move in, right? We couldn't move
Oh
in
man.
because it was tenant occupied. We couldn't evict any of them. But what we did do was we raised the rents and we got the place super clean, like super updated. Towards the end, one person moved out, so we were able to update their unit. One of the units was updated. We bought that property for $1 million and we sold it just about a year later, a little less than a year later, for 1.35 million. Right? So $350,000 gross profit in 12 months. Around the same time, I also sold my condo for 103,000 net profit. So now I had this bankroll, and what I did was I took that and I started I took that. I was making offers on all kinds of multifamily self storage trailer parks. I found a guy that was crushing it in hotels. Ended up partnering with him and my friend Octavio, and we started a whole hotel syndication company. So that was like kind of my step two, was the hotel syndication company. And it's literally crazy what the power of syndication and private equity is, because I went from doing one deal, two deals, maybe three deals a year, doing some private lending from money that I had saved, to the moment where I introduced private equity. I went from that, sold all of my residential portfolio, to have bought $18 million in 9 months of real estate.
Mm,
So that's just the power of private equity, like that's really what kind of took me to the next level, for sure.
I love that. And we'll dive into that because I want to talk about partnerships, private equity, raising capital, etc. I just want people to kind of get the quick version of your real estate journey. So you have that, you're doing those flips, you're making some money, and then you bankroll it into the syndication for the hotels. What year is this?
That was 2000. That was 2021 rolling into 22. Yeah.
22 and 23 look like.
So 22 and 23 was 22 was raising a lot of money for hotels. 23 was the year of Housebender, which is my infill development company. So last year, um, started just really like that. So I found out that hotels is not my passion, right? I just did
Mm-hmm.
it because I was like, I can make a stupid amount of money doing this. But number one, I don't care about hotels as an asset class. Number two, I don't know much about them as much as I would want to, like I know about development. Number three, my trench level expertise, my knowledge, who I was made to be was a real estate developer and property manager, right? So I know how to build and manage these assets long term. That's my skill
Mm-hmm.
set. And now I know really well how to raise capital. So I put all of that get together end of 22 into 23, started buying infill development deals in San Diego, California. And that's been kind of like my whole passion project, man, is Housebender, building new construction multifamily in San Diego, California.
I love that. And we're going to dive into all that. What I want to take a quick like pivot and talk about is you're only 28, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
So most people be like 28, overnight success. But as we just talked about, you had 4 or 5 years, 1 year of not even getting paid at all, and then multiple years of, you know, raising capital and doing things. And also you're someone that puts in the work. And I want to kind of just talk about delayed gratification. You've, you know, said on other podcasts, you live very frugal. And then also kind of what does that mean for you when you hit financial independence, financial freedom? And then why was it important to also have location freedom? So we'll start with the first one, like delayed gratification. Talk to me about that because I know you're really big into that.
Yeah, dude. So like I think it just came from having immigrant parents where they were always like just do what you don't want to do now and then later you'll get to do what you want to do. The trap with the immigrant mentality is you never get to do what you want to do. You're just stuck working your whole life because you're so scared of going back to zero, right? And I was so
Mm,
privileged to be the first generation born in the United States, right? So the second generation away from poverty to where, okay, now I
mhm,
have options. Like, no, I don't need to freaking work forever, right? But I took that delayed gratification mindset of knowing that if I just chuck tomorrow, just forget about tomorrow, forget about next year, forget about whenever, and just focus on the consistent actions that I need to do today, then I know for sure that in a year, in 2 years, I will be living the lifestyle that I want. Like what I have right now is a very, very comfortable, very privileged lifestyle, which is a result of me chucking the last 2 to 3 years.
mhm,
That's literally like this is a result of that. And then next 3 to 5 years is going to be a result of now of me not always living very below my means, always working hard today and kind of one thing that I've worked really hard to do is detach myself from the outcome. When you're
mm,
detached from the outcome and you're only focused on the inputs, right? And you're detached from the output, you're kind of numb to what the output is telling you. Now, you don't want to be just so delusional to where you're putting in all these inputs and making no progress. You want to be monitoring the output, but you don't want to be so attached to that result, right? You don't
mhm.
want that result you don't want that result to determine your intensity, your motivation. It should determine your strategic actions, but not your intensity and motivation.
I love that. And then I think you have a quote that I saw. You said, "Work hard without expectation of reward for a very long time." That's something that sounds like you learned in the military. So I think that kind of ties in that on a combination of that immigrant mentality.
Yeah, totally, man. I mean, like I think that's like one reason why I did pretty all right in the military was because of growing up that way, and that's just literally what they teach you. They're like, put your head. If you want to promote in the military, here's how you do it. You put your head down. You just work your ass off. Everyone who works less than you is going to get promoted first. I don't know why it always happens. They're all going to get promoted first. You're going to cry about it a little, but if you don't cry about it and you don't let that affect your intensity, you will eventually outrank them. And it happened to me, right? I was like zero in the military. I was the only guy, like literally, like my community in the military. So bosun mate in the Navy, for those of you who don't know, it's full of people who didn't have test scores high enough or they had criminal records, and that's where you end up, right? You end up in deck department on the ship. That's where I was. So you have to imagine, like, none of these people really want to work. There's just a few people who want to do there and try to excel in things, right? So there was always people who weren't, I thought, working as hard as me and getting promoted. But I just knew that if I put my head down, I work, I do the right thing, I get my qualifications, eventually I'm going to get to where I want to go. And it doesn't matter what happens for those people, right? Power to them.
Mm.
I wish you all the best. I'm worried about me. And what happened is I did that and I ended up outranking a lot of those guys, and girls. So that's one thing that I carried over in real estate, knowing that if I'm just so agnostic to what's happening around me, what other people are doing, and I just focus on what my gut and my heart tell me to do, then I will absolutely achieve the results that I want to. I do not need to be attached to them because I know it's a guarantee that it's going to happen.
So important. Everyone listening, that's like our generation. I'm 30, you're 28. Our generation and younger, we grew up on this Instagram, microwave, everything happens in 5 seconds. And so just you sharing that, I think is going to be super beneficial. And realizing a long time is still not a long time. Like you
Mm-hmm.
were able to hit financial independence, financial freedom, I think you said in 2 years. So it's not like it's going to take you 45 years that we got taught in school. There's definitely a shortcut to that. Talk to me about living frugal, because I think that's another thing that a lot of people right now get caught up living with the, keeping up with the Joneses. Everyone wants everything instantly. What were some of the sacrifices that you had to make that ended up translating to something amazing as an investment, over the last 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, totally, Jesse. And this is something that, admittedly, lately I let off the gas a little bit, and I've enjoyed life. I did a ton of traveling last year, so much traveling, but it was well worth it, man. But like, so when I was in the military, there was this super old contractor, like someone who would come and be a consultant on the ship. He was like 70 years old, but the guy was so well, at the time I thought that was like the richest guy I knew. Like he had like a 1.2 million bucks in a Roth IRA. Like that, like baby boomer wealth, right? Now we know that that's like, I don't want to bash on him. He was an idol of mine, right? But really we know that's
Mm.
really easy to achieve in business, right? Where it took him 30, 40 years. Anyways, he told me one thing. He said, Shaw, they call you by your last name. He said, Shaw, you want to be rich? Live with roommates until you can't tolerate it, right? So
Hmm.
live with roommates until you cannot tolerate it, until you have a baby or something or a partner and you just can't, right? Because every year that you do that, you save money. And it may seem small, right? But even when I was making multiple six figures, I was house hacking, man. And
Hmm.
some people are like, that's so stupid, blah, blah, blah. If you're someone who can't work productively without having your own 2 bedroom apartment paying 4 grand a month by yourself, then and you're making 20 grand a month, sure, go ahead, do it, man. Be my guest. But I think that money could be spent much better elsewhere. Number two is I did the stupid stuff, bro, and I just learned so quickly, like um, bought the Rolex and all that stuff, man. I have no jewelry now. I don't have that Rolex for a reason. But I just learned that the thing that makes me really happy when I use my dollars is when I use my dollars to make more dollars. And if my dollars aren't
Hmm.
making more dollars, then it just doesn't feel that good to me. The only exception there is travel. I
Yeah.
like using my dollars to travel, and I like using my dollars to make more dollars. But besides that, for me personally, I just don't see satisfaction in material things. And then number two is if you are unsatisfied with your goals and your current financial situation, do not reward yourself with material things, right?
Hmm.
Um, if you're completely satisfied, you're like, dude, I freaking crushed it, man. And your purpose of and your method of feeling satisfied is buying a Ferrari, and it's a $2,500 lease payment. By all freaking means, dude. Power to you, dude. You freaking made it. You're making 20, 30 grand a month, or more, and you feel like you can afford that, and your housing payment is low, and that's how you feel satisfied, sure. But if you're not there and you're not where you want to be and you don't feel satisfied financially, don't reward yourself with material things. That's not, you're indicating in your brain that you're satisfied. And if you're satisfied and you're not hungry, you're not going to progress.
So good. Talk to me about cash flow, because that's something a lot of our community is striving to get. A lot of them work still corporate jobs, so looking, how do I get out of the corporate job to live a life of financial freedom and also location independence like you've achieved? Was that your main strategy at first, like going and trying to, what would be the best way to cash flow X amount so I hit my financial freedom number? Or walk me through that.
Yeah, so I kind of did it a different way. Like number one, through business. So I'm a co-owner of a business, right? So I get money from there. And then number two, my real estate. So that's where my cash flow comes. I am now shifting more towards a cash flow game. the game that I played over the last 3 years, right? Because remember, my lifestyle is so low; it doesn't take a lot of cash flow for me to get to where I need, right? But the last 2-3 years, I was playing a big, massive net worth equity game,
Hmm.
and unintentionally, I just was. That's just the nature of the beast, and but the problem with equity in these big things is, number one, they're very, very market sensitive. So what's today's price is not necessarily tomorrow's price, and it's interest rates rise and things prices change. Number two is it's a delayed thing, delayed gratification, sure, what have you, but it's like you buy an asset today, you're going to improve it for 3 or 5 years and have a massive seven-figure exit in 3 to 5 years. But how does that help me today, right? So that's why I'm kind of shifting. I have that stuff already on the back burner that's going to pay out. But now I've shifted towards a massive cash flow game through these infill development deals. And it's kind of a hybrid, but the cash flow has been nuts. And it's been enough for me to feel like, I can do the things that I need to do, and live the way that I need to live, man. But I would say, like, if someone is chasing financial freedom, that cash flow should be your target. Number two is, if you are buying a property that is not producing net income, money in your pocket at the end, it's not an asset. It's a liability, right? There's no sugarcoating that. One thing that I really joke about is realtors, man. Like, I remember when we were at dinner and I was just like telling you about how I feel about realtors, bro. But like, realtors will tell you, like, this is an investment. If it doesn't make you money, it's not an investment, right? So go
Hmm.
after cash flow for sure for your financial freedom. And that cash flow is what's gonna set you free. When you have cash flow, when you have established business, you can go play the generational wealth equity game, but you should never compromise your cash flow.
So good. What about location freedom? That's something that you've decided was really important to you. Walk me through
It
that thought process. And was that the initial goal? Like, I'm going to make sure to do a business that is going to allow me to be able to work remote.
Yeah, so that wasn't necessarily the initial goal at all. Um, the initial goal was just to be in real estate and get rich.
Yeah.
And I got into it. I started making money. I was like, dude, I'm doing this thing. But I was the freaking projects on the ground guy, right? And I was taking the materials to the job site, dealing with contractors or dealing with contractors and inspections, and picking materials and this and that and city permit desk and this. I was so freaking in the car in San Diego making these projects move. And I realized, like, well, this isn't really freedom. Like, yeah, I'm making money, but this isn't really freedom. I want to be able to pack my bags and run this thing from South America. So that's exactly what I did. I just packed my bags and figured it out. And have been living here just a little bit over a year. I am planning to go back to San Diego in a couple of months now, to just be there for a little while, because I am kind of I am scaling pretty rapidly, so I just need to be there to set the foundation, to set the culture again, and then I'll do my thing. But yeah, geographic freedom for me was just such a must, and I didn't know how much of a must it was till I got it. Like, when you have like this global citizen mindset where you start seeing the world as your home instead of just one place, it really expands your horizons. It expands your life. You start appreciating other things. Like, the satisfaction of being able to move around the world freely is just it's not worth any amount of money.
I totally agree with you. And I feel like I have so much more gratitude, honestly, for the States, but also gratitude just for being able to travel when I am traveling. So give us a little sneak peek. What does a year in Colombia look like? What's the difference between Colombia and America, and also prices? Because I was shocked of, what you can get in Colombia, especially Medellin. Beautiful city.
Yeah, sure, totally. So, like, I have a very expensive apartment, right? I have a 3-story, 3-bedroom with a balcony. It's in the best part of the city. It's considered a luxury apartment. I pay now around $1,100 a month. It's furnished. It's got all services included. Which, by the way, this is extremely expensive. Honestly, I feel like I'm getting ripped off. Like, um, I could probably get it a little cheaper. But me and my girlfriend, we really love the place, so I'm fine paying it for now. But you can get a normal apartment here if you don't furnish it in a really nice area for $500-$600 a month. No problem. And you have all of the United States amenities, the nice gyms, the luxurious restaurants, the clean infrastructure, clean drinking water. If you're from Flint, Michigan, the drinking water here is actually cleaner than there. Things like that. But like very high end, like shopping, all of it. You've been here, Jesse. You know, man. It's actually a very surprising place. But yeah, so my rent is like $1,100 a month. That's all my services, everything included. I don't have a car right now, but I was renting a car for like $250 a month. It's now $400. I don't rent anymore for that reason. But it's just that I the amount of money that I save here is nuts. Like, given I could probably go to the United States, live in one of my properties for free. It might be the same, but like we can do things here like hire someone to come cook for us or hire someone to come clean the house. Things that not necessarily that you couldn't afford in the United States, you could, but it would just cost you 10 times more. Right. And then number two, I just find the culture down here to be just so much more friendly, pleasing,
Mhm.
agreeable, the mindset, the lifestyle. And then number three, the weather here is just perfect in Medellin, man. It's always between 70 and 80 degrees, and it's just perfect. Yeah. So
Yeah, I can't wait to go back. When are you leaving? When are you coming back to San Diego? I'll have to come visit before you head back this way.
it's not decided, man. I'm gonna be here at least in another 2 3 months, I think. But whenever you decide to come back, I'm so connected to this place. I'll just come back with you.
Sounds good. All right, let's talk about passion. I don't know how to title this, but a lot of people are all about, I got to figure out what my passion is and build my business around my passion. Personally, I just hit my financial, independence number. Once I was comfortable, all my bills were, paid through basically passive income. Now I'm like, all right, let me see what kind of business I could build around my passion. That's how I did it. What's your thoughts there?
Pretty much I'm in the same school as you, Jesse. What I believe is I just think it's so freaking easy to make money in real estate. It is like,
Hmm.
dude, you're looking at me, man. I didn't go to college or nothing. There's none of my friends who are successful in real estate have college degrees or business experience for that matter. It came after the fact, right? You don't need to be that smart. You just need to know a couple of basic principles and you can become financially free in this game quickly, And then when I'm saying
Hmm.
quickly, 5 years or less, that's very quick. 5 years or less is very quick. And if you do that, now you have what you alluded to unlocked the time and the possibility for you to go build your passion. And that's not to say to give up on your passion, right? Continue doing your passion, continue to do what you're passionate about, but give real estate a shot. I just think it's just, it became my passion, man. I'm so passionate about building housing. I'm so passionate about creating art through living spaces, things like that, and helping others along the way, teaching other people. But don't necessarily, like for example, like if you want to be a musician, like a rapper or something. I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm just saying there's the chances are you can be a lot more comfortable and focused on building your rap career if you had an extra 5 grand coming in a month from your real estate. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And now you feel more comfortable to take risks and things like that. So that's kind of my philosophy. Now there is a contrarian school of thought saying that if you just put all chips on black and you don't have a backup plan or comfort, you're going to work a lot harder and you're not going to have a choice. There's an argument to be made there. I like to be comfortable and I like to be free. I like to not ever. I like the fact that I'll never have to work a job again, and I can say that confidently a million times. I will never have to work a job again in my life for somebody if I don't want to. If real estate got me there super quick, so that's kind of my little 2 cents on that.
We're definitely on the same page there, especially guys. If you're in your 20s, these are two guys. I mean, I guess, damn, I'm in my 30s now, I'm getting old. But, but like, it does not take long. Like, it's a few rental properties, certain strategies can get you there quicker. So, 100% agree. How big of a deal is community to you? Because I know you got plugged into the War Room, which I'm pretty sure is with David, right? With Dave.
Yeah, man. And by the way, dude, like community, Jesse, it is the freaking make or break for anyone. Like I know that you have a community as well, the Growth House, and what you were explaining to me. I was like, yeah, I mean, that's a no-brainer what you're doing as well. It's just so much more easier to be successful when you're around people who want to be successful. Not even people who are
Yes.
successful. It doesn't necessarily even have to be people who are successful, just people
Mm,
who want to be successful and they're serious about themselves, right? And when you start vibrating alongside those kinds of people, you are going to accelerate your growth, right? And then, yeah, I know you mentioned the War Room. Shout out David Perret. He's a great friend of both of ours. The War
yes.
Room has just been life changing, man. Like 2021, I was exiting my rental portfolio. All of my success, all of it is on the back of the War Room. I've
Mm,
raised about $2 million worth of capital between me and War Room members. That hotel company that I co-founded was with a War Room member. My financial freedom came from the War Room, from just aligning myself with the right community. Just from aligning myself from the right people. So imagine that, like, you can skip the whole school of hard knocks. You can skip the whole anguish, the abyss of the entrepreneur, and you can simply align yourself with the right people. And from day one, you can start getting results. And it's just been, that's something that I have tried and done time and time throughout my career, is just aligning myself with the right people. And that's how all problems get solved.
so good. So, did you ever have a point in your life when, because a lot of these communities, there is a pay to play, which I think is good because it keeps the people who aren't serious out. So, it kind of gives you a vetted room of people to potentially do deals with, learn from, etc. But walk me through that mindset that maybe you never had. But I know a lot of people have this mindset. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't afford this, or they just don't think of, paying to get access to have this literally a shortcut to success, but they get caught up on finances. Like, did you ever have that feeling?
So what I will say is, it's hard to get it when you don't know. But when you know, like I
Mm,
knew when I was joining the War Room, mind you, it's not that expensive, but even if it was, um, I was just like, dude, like this is exactly what I need, because I was at a point in my career where I already learned that alignment with the right people is going to get me to where I need to go, right? So like, let's go back to my story. How did I get started in real estate? I went and worked for free for 1 year for a developer. What if you could just join a freaking community and pay someone $7,000 a year to be in this community, and there's like five of those developers, and they're just opening up the books to everyone? Would I go back and be a handyman for a year? No, I just pay the 7 grand, dude. It's no different than, are you going to drive to the store or buy it on Amazon? You know,
mm,
if you want to
mm-hmm,
drive to the store, go drive to the store. Maybe you'll learn something from the scenic route.
mm-hmm.
Now, I will say that there are some things in that year of working for free that I learned that cannot be learned anywhere, right? I will not discount that experience. It is the hands down one of the biggest um, contributors to my success. But if you don't have time for all that, which most people don't, right? I was just in a very special situation where I was like fresh out of the military. I was getting money to go to school because of the GI Bill. I was living off of freaking ramen noodles. And I was just super hungry single guy, which most people don't fall into that category. Fork over the five, seven, $10,000 if it is a credible community with someone who has proven results and they have a culture that you align with. And remember, it's
Yes.
not just pay. It's not just pay and it's all done for you. It's pay to be aligned with these people, and then figure out how to bring value to them, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
many people just can't wrap their head around that. What do you mean I'm going to pay to be in the community and then everything's not going to be handed to me? It's not how it works, man.
Mm,
You're paying for the value. Literally, when you pay for a community, you're paying for someone who took the time to put people together and create a culture and create value. Now it's your turn to figure out how you can be valuable to that community. And if you do that and you leave your pride aside, you leave your ego down, and you get over the whole paying for it thing, then you are going to get into a room with people who are doing exactly what you want to do, and they're willing to show you how to do it, right?
yes.
It's not a course. No, this is my business. Hey, I'm Adit Shah, I'm an infill developer. These are the projects I got going on. This is where I buy my materials. This is how I talk to my contractors. Oh, you need a contract for a contractor? Here's the one I use. Oh, you need a purchase option agreement? Here's the one I use. Oh, you need a lawyer? Oh, here's the guy I use. Like all these things that you would have spent years trying to put together, I'll just spitball them to you, man. And it'll be ready for you to go. All because you took the initiative to line yourself with the right people. So that's my little take. And then what I will say is, if you can't, if you're like me when I started. You literally have $0. Number one, fix that. You should not have $0. If you are a man in your 20s, even a woman, sorry, I don't want to classify people based on gender, but no matter who you are, if you are in your 20s and you are independent, you should not be living with your parents. You should have $5,000 to $10,000 saved up, and if you don't, figure that out first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying go take your entire savings and dumping out on a community, but put yourself in a financial position first where you're able to do something like that, because it's absolutely going to help you.
Yes. I think this ties into something I want to ask you. We're going to play a little quick game. If you
Let's do
started
it.
from zero, what would you do to get your first 100K in real estate? And then what would you do to go from 6 to 7 figures?
First 100,000. First 100,000, you can do it. So you have $0.
Mm-hmm.
Is it me or is it anyone?
It's you. If you started over
Okay,
today.
if I started over today, so I'm a veteran, I would go use my VA loan. I would go house hack. I would do a house hack where, number one, there's room to add value, meaning like I can live there and make and fix things up as I go. I can add at least 6 figures, that 100K in value. And number two, all or most of my expenses are covered by my roommate or my other units, right? If those two are true, I'm going to do the house hack. I'm going to hold it for a year. In 1 year, I'm going to sell it for 6-figure gain, tax free. Remember, because it's my primary residence. After that, I will take those 6 figures. I will find someone who is absolutely crushing it at 7-figure real estate stuff. I will take those 6 figures. I will say, hey, I want to invest this. Hey, would you take this $100,000 and allow me to invest it with you? Let's say it's a real estate developer. They're gonna be like, yeah, I got a project coming up. All right, I'll invest it with you as a limited partner. What's your minimum? Maybe it's not even the full 100. Maybe it's 25. It's 50. Whatever. I'll do the 50. I'll do the minimum. I'll keep the other 50 because you never want to go back to zero. And I'll tell them, here's the caveat. I want an active responsibility in this project. I want to be in charge of something actively in this project. I want to be in charge of talking to the architect or the contractor, being the guy on the ground, whatever it might be. That's what I'm going to do, right? Now I'm invested with this guy as a limited partner. I still have half my money. I'm learning all about what he's doing. And then with the other half, maybe from there I'll pay to join some kind of community. And then I would just invest a lot of my time in aligning myself with people who are doing 7-figure real estate. And from there, I will get the knowledge, number one, that I need to do the 7-figure real estate thing. Number two, I now have an active responsibility in a project, right? We exit, the investors make money in that project. My name's on the project. Hey, guess what? I did this project. Now I have experience, I have knowledge, I have credibility. Maybe I find a deal and I partner with the credible guy and we do another one that's a 7-figure exit. You see how like these things just snowball together, but you must take the time to build the blocks correctly. A lot of
Yes.
people think, and Jesse, we talked about this. A lot of people are just like, man, F that guy, dude. He's trying to say that everyone has to invest personal money or you have to have all this experience to do real estate and stuff. And I'm like, dude, I stand by that, man. Someone in the general partnership must have money invested in the deal, right? Do it the right way. Take your time, learn. Because these skills, right? Maybe they might not pay you this year, but they will pay you for the rest of your life millions of dollars. So that's what I would do if I started over.
So good. So partnerships. We talk a lot about partnerships. What are some red flags that you would stay away from? And what maybe questions would you ask or background research would you do to make sure you're going to be able to get into a good partnership?
Yeah, so I'm actually going through a bad partnership thing right now, man. So this is perfect question.
There you go.
So what I will say is, number one, I will never, ever, ever create a business or invest with someone in my general partnership, right? The sponsor part side of the house. Number one, they must have personal money contributed. Number one, they must have money in the bank, right? So if we're doing like a $1 million raise, like I think it's perfectly reasonable on the lowest of low ends. Everyone has 50 grand saved up. At least 50, dude. That's like not that much money when you're talking about $1 million raise, Why? Because things are going to come up and expenses are going to happen and we're going to have to fork over money. And what happened to me was I got into business with someone who had bad credit and no savings. The guy is really good at syndication, right? But, well, that's arguable too. But I got into business with someone who had no credit, no money, right? And I was on the freaking hook for writing the check every time that we needed money, because I had it, and it was just super unfair. So I would say, if you're gonna partner with someone, make sure that you're relatively equal. Like that you're not gonna be on the hook if things go wrong. That they will be able to hold their weight. If you're absolutely starting out with zero, and you're partnering with someone who has a lot of experience, I would say that you need to make sure that you verify the experience, that you talk to their investors, that you look at the testimonials, that you ask about the exits, that you look under everything with the microscope. Because sadly, I would say the majority of people are good, but there is a minority of people who lie about things. They fake their success. It's usually very easy to spot if you just take the time to look in. So that's what I'll say about partnership. Number one, make sure you do business with people who can hold their weight financially and do the work.
Mm.
And number two, make sure that you verify everyone's claims about themselves. They're like, yeah, dude, I got like 150K liquid. Oh, cool, dude. You mind sending over a bank statement to prove that? Dude, I say it, man. I say it. People have
Hmm.
asked me, partners have asked me. And if you really got it, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I mean, the first time someone asked me, I was like, okay, that's a little bit weird. Let me think this through. All right, I'm going to redact all my personal info in the statement. I'm not going to show the transactions. It's just going to be the front page to show the balance. Take the time to protect myself, but whatever. I got it. I mean, I got
Hmm.
nothing to hide. If you really got it, you're not going to hide it.
Just like a proof
So
of funds. Like anytime we're looking to purchase a house, usually if it's over $1 million, they'll want proof of funds before I even do a tour sometimes of a house to make sure we're not wasting like a real estate agent's time. So I get it.
exactly. Yeah, and I would say also have your roles and responsibilities clearly defined. And what happens
Hmm.
if someone doesn't pull their weight? Have that clearly defined. And then to the other extent, right? If you're in a partnership with someone who you know, like, and trust, and things are going well, and they hit a rough spot, and things go bad, and I would also say have some empathy as much as you can, because everyone's human at the end of the day. Not everyone's just a liar and trying to screw you over. Some people just really go through shit, and if you can be the person who picks up the slack in that moment, do it. Don't be so guarded and just trying to protect yourself either. Find a happy medium. So, but I would say
Yeah.
partnerships are essential when you're starting out, man. It's just so much faster, and also you kind of have to go through the pain. People must go through pain to taste success. Like, there's no success without pain. Like, you must go through these things. You must have a bad partnership. You must lose something. Feel like you were treated unfairly. It's all part of the thing. It's all part of the process. It's all perfectly normal and kind of necessary.
Yeah, especially early on. It's a lot better to have a partnership potentially go sour early on at a very, lower price point than having something
Hmm.
happen 10 years down the road thinking everything's easy, you let your foot off the gas, the agreements aren't as tight as they really should be, and then something really bad happens and it's, tens and hundreds of millions of dollars instead of a couple 100,000 potentially.
Yep.
So I hear you on that a lot. And then also something that one of my coaches told me, he said, Jesse, don't look at it as an agreement because when everything's going well, you're never going to look at this document. It's really a disagreement. That's what you should be thinking about when you're drafting up this, agreement with the other person and making sure it's the right partner. When everything goes sideways, what's going to happen, and have that contingency plan lined up.
Absolutely, dude. That was gold.
And so what I want to move to is something for the people that are going from 0 to 6, podcast or book that you would recommend.
Definitely this one for sure. Of course,
Hey,
if you're here, you're already here though. I also really like our buddy Brian's podcast. I like the Action Academy. I
big
also
time.
love David. I love David Perret's podcast as well. From Military to Millionaire. But by the way, it's not just for military people. I recommend you listen to it even if you're not in the military. Um, and then as far as books, one book that really helped me was this book. It's like called like 24 metrics and financial measures for for the real estate investor. I can't remember what it's called,
Hmm.
but it's like a green book, and it has like every single way to measure a real estate investment in terms of numbers: cash on cash return, IRR, this, that, like accounting. It's a really good book. And then another really good book is Anti-Fragile.
I've heard
Anti-Fragile
that
by
one.
Nassim Taleb is a really good book as well. And so that's what I would say in terms of books or podcasts. As you're scaling,
Yes.
Traction was a really good one for me.
Yes.
Traction was a really good one for me. Simple, very simple, but vivid vision. Who would have
Mm-hmm.
thought was a really good one to scale as well. Uh, and then, but to be totally honest with you, dude, like I haven't been reading a lot of business and real estate stuff. Like I've read recently a lot of like like just weird off the random well, I guess like also like business stuff. Like I read this book called Choose Your Enemies Wisely by Patrick Bet
Oh,
David. I
shout
really like
out
Patrick.
PBD.
I like PBD a lot. Um, I got I read this book called Nonviolent Communication that I really like. I think that's a book that I think every man should read. Nonviolent Communication. But yeah, I read a lot of different things, like more psychology, science, stuff like that now. Not so much business. But when I do need something that's like a business thing that I need help with, I found that usually I find it in a podcast or like aligning myself with someone who has the solution. So,
Amazing. What about favorite quote? Do you have a quote that just sticks with you all the time, and what does it mean to you?
man, relationships first, profits last. Yeah, that's the one that's resonated with me a lot. Um, for sure. That's a quote that I like a lot.
I love it. So I got a bonus one talking about
Yeah, let's see.
entrepreneurship and relationships.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
So I feel like a lot of people that are entrepreneurs really just like disregard relationships in general. I know we've talked about it a little bit, but as a man myself, I feel like my responsibility is to provide and to lead. But then right now in my current position, I'm like, I want to have stability and I want to have like this X amount of consistent income coming in before I really bring someone else in that I will then have to provide for, and then potentially a family after that. And so for me, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to wait on relationships until I, hit these metrics in business, which I'm sure is, one way to do it, but probably not the best way. What's been your kind of route with relationships as you're growing a company, as you're young and successful, and you're busy?
Yeah, sure. So absolutely. Like I've been with my girlfriend for about a year now, and it's been great. And I met her when I already had like a level of success, right? And what I will say is, since meeting her and dating her, and now we live together, my business, my success, sure to say, my financial goals have been progressed exponentially, right? To have someone else just handling everything so I can focus on the business and things like that and just focus on providing, then I like it's definitely like if we're talking about ROI, it's way positive, so
Mm-hmm.
that's like what I would say. I would say though that if you want, if you're looking to get into a relationship um for the long term, be stable and things like that, there's absolutely nothing wrong. And I would also encourage you to have some sort of financial stability and some of your financial ambitions met before entering that relationship. Not saying necessarily that you must be so freaking at your end game by the time you get married or into a serious relationship. No, but I mean, have enough to be providing for another person for sure. If you fall into the camp that me and Jesse do, that men are supposed to be providers and protectors and things like that.
What about, because I've gone back and forth. For me, it's like, oh man, I want this whole power couple thing where she's just as ambitious as I am, and then I've dated other people. I'm like, actually, that's a little too much. I want someone there that like more is, I don't want to say reserved, but more like she does have to be that ambitious. Maybe she has ambition in certain aspects, but it doesn't have to be in business at all. We don't have to be on stages, speaking together, or anything like that. Have you had that thought process? And then what made you decide to go one route or the other? Or was it more about the person than rather, maybe some characteristics about her like that?
So definitely, like I learned that I like the dynamic that I have now from being in this relationship and being with my girlfriend. But I think that number one, it's important for everyone to have ambition in their life, right? That they be working on something for themselves. For me and you, Jesse, it might be building a real estate empire, freaking massive brand, things like that. But for someone else, it could be just owning their own business, period, or whatever that version of success looks like for them. What my girlfriend has really taught me the most is like how important it is to lean into masculine and feminine energy. Like we both embody that really well. Like she really embodies her feminine energy, me my masculine energy. And like for her to freaking hold down the house, she also works on her business. She has a clothing store. We also travel. You know, her contribution to our partnership, right? If this was a business, is she just keeps the home life just so stable, number one, and she supports me unconditionally in everything that I do, and it's just been so amazing for me. And in return, I protect and I provide for her, you know, and that balance has worked out really well for us, and we both live really happily under that balance. So that's kind of my take on that.
Love it. All right. Soon to be double date going on. I'll
Yeah,
have to
for
come out to
sure, man.
Medellin to make it happen. So, Growth House, very much a go giver community. We want to provide value to you. What are some things that potentially, if someone wants to reach out to you, what are you looking for right now? Are you looking for, more people as you scale and need more investors? What are some of the things that potentially someone could reach out and be like, hey, Adit, I got a connection for you?
So I'm always raising money. Um, always raising money. Always have deals open. Number two, I'm always looking to talk to people and help them on their real estate journey. Like this year, I had a goal to do 100 free one-on-ones with people, 30-minute one-on-ones. I'm a bit over it. I'm gonna keep doing it probably for the month of February into March. So I'll tell you this: if you're interested, and if there's room, DM me Growth House on Instagram. It's at Housebender, Housebender, Housebender. Just email me, or sorry, DM me Growth House, and I'll send you the Calendly link to set up for that. Also, you can go to www.housebender.com. I have all my projects and investments and things like that on there if you want to learn more about me. And if there's any way that I can serve you to your real estate goals, definitely reach out. I love having conversations, and I block out time every single week to have conversations with people at all levels of their real estate journey.
That's love. Really appreciate you doing that for our community. What's the reason for the give back? Because you're someone that I've heard on podcasts talk about all the things that you do and even why you're doing the real estate company, because you're actually serving a need in California, which is really hard to do. So what's kind of like the main motivation and driver behind, wanting to give back and spend so much time helping others?
So, number one is I want to be the guy that I wish that I was when I was starting out. And number two is like I've had conversations with people 30 minutes and I've said one thing that seemed to change their entire life. Like I don't want to be arrogant and blow smoke up my ass, but like it's just something that I knew in being in real estate, private equity, capital raising, that someone's just, 5 steps behind me to fill them in on those 5 steps. Let me save you the time. And they're just like, what? Really? I didn't think about that. And they do it and they go get results. And I'm like, dude, if me spending 30 minutes with someone on the phone for them to remember me for a lifetime, I think that's very net positive, and I would love to continue to do that, right? Obviously, I've learned that I can't continue to do it for long because it's just so much time and I'm running two businesses. So I am looking into doing like a free group or something like that in the future where people can ask questions. But remember, my DMs are always open, and I'm happy to answer real estate questions, especially for anyone from Jesse's community. So
Man, I appreciate that. Well, I think that's a good way to wrap it up. Jesse Ray, Growth House Podcast, my man Adit. I'll see you in Colombia pretty soon here, man.
for sure, my guy, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, brother.